Time when Washington is worrying about how to balance the federal budget, one writer says the more the government disintegrates, the better off we'll all be. Joining me now is National Review correspondent and author of The End is Near, and It's Going to Be Awesome, How Going Broke Will Leave America Richer, Happier, and More Secure. Kevin Williamson. What do you mean, Kevin? The end is near and we're all going to be happy?
Well, I think so, yeah. I mean, if you look at the things that don't really work very well about the federal government, here I'm talking about Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid specifically, which are about half the budget.
Well, wait a minute, because some people, especially on the left, say, that's the best thing since sliced bread.
Yeah, and it is if you don't count the $110 trillion in unfunded liabilities that belong to those programs.
So financially, you're worried about it?
Well, financially, I'm not worried about it. Financially, I'm absolutely sure these programs are going away. There's just no way to sustain them. Those unfunded liabilities are equivalent to the GDP of the entire planet. They're closing in on the value of all the financial assets in existence. So it's just mathematically almost a certainty that they aren't going to be paid out at their present value. The reason that's a good thing is we have better ways of dealing with these problems. We actually have much better models for dealing with social problems than these old-fashioned government entitlements, which were largely designed in the 1930s and in that era, and they just don't work for the time that we're in.
So who's going to come up with this? The marketplace will find these new solutions?
Well, that's part of what the book is about. It's we have to start thinking about it now. We still have some time before these things really come unwound, and we have to start making some really difficult decisions. But it's going to be partly the marketplace. It's going to be partly the nonprofit sector. It's going to be partly just people operating on their own, looking at problems they have locally in their states, in their cities, and throughout the country.
Look, when I was a young man, I remember saying Social Security is not going to be there, and I still hear that.
Sure.
And I still think a lot of people believe that. And if it's not there, it will be at least means tested. So for some people, it won't be there. But you're saying this is just going to disintegrate. How's that transition going to take place without people getting hurt?
Well, it's not going to take place without people getting hurt, unfortunately. The real challenge for us going forward the next 15 or 20 years is figuring out how to make that transition happen in a way that's not terribly disruptive, in a way that doesn't really mess up individual people's lives and the economy at large.
All right. You talk in the book, though, about the idea, and we hear this all the time out of Washington, we want a grand plan. We want a huge master change to the tax code. We want Obamacare, whatever it might be. And politically, they're not getting these things done because there's all kinds of different opinions. But you're saying this is absolutely the wrong way to go at it.
Yeah, these grand plans never work, and not because the people who plan them aren't smart and well-intentioned. They mostly are. It's just dealing with problems that are way too complex for them to even understand, much less to plan out. One day I took the simplest market I could think of, which is the market for milk, at the supermarket, and I ran all the variables. You've got 2%, you got 0.5%, you can buy pints, you can buy gallons, et cetera, et cetera. And I ran what the distribution could be for each American family over the course of a year. And the number I came up with of variables was more seconds than have passed since the beginning of time, or since the beginning of the universe. So if you're going to consider all the options, you better be setting aside a couple of million years to do it if you're talking about something really complicated like healthcare. So no, they don't plan. They pretend to plan. They can manipulate things in the marketplace. They can take money from one group of people and give it to another. But in terms of rationally planning something as complex as healthcare or energy or anything else in the American economy, no, it's nonsensical.
But the government always waits for a crisis before they do anything.
Yeah.
So is that the point of your book?
Yes. Winston Churchill famously said you can always count on the United States to do the right thing after they've exhausted every other option. And we're getting to the point where we've exhausted every other option. There's nobody I know in economics on either side who looks at American finances where they are and thinks that they're sustainable in the long term. Now, conservatives and liberals have different ideas about what they'd like to do to solve those problems, and there's a good conversation to be had there. But I don't think there's anyone who believes that the status quo is sustainable for very much longer than we've sustained it.
Yeah. I know in healthcare, my personal opinion is there are things that were not working in our healthcare. Sure. Why not go and try and fix those little things? Fix that and see if it works.
Yeah, one of the terrible mistakes that Republicans made during the healthcare debate was they just kept saying, well, we have the best healthcare system in the world and we don't need to do anything about it. Well, that just simply wasn't true. We had all sorts of problems with the way healthcare was financed.
You take on one little piece, you fix it.
Exactly.
That's what you do in your home.
Yeah. Incremental, one piece at a time change is almost always preferable to these, we're going to pass one bill and we're going to solve healthcare. We're going to pass one big bill and we're going to solve immigration or gun violence. Yeah. It's nonsense. It's crazy.
The end is near. Do you have a date, by the way, for us? Or when the end is coming?
Well, if I could predict that sort of thing with any great deal of specificity, I would be a very, very wealthy guy, and I would own half of New York, or actually the whole thing probably. So I don't know. I would say that we've got no more than 15 years to start fixing some of this stuff and to coming up with some real solutions for some problems that we just can't continue to put off.
All right. Kevin Williamson, interesting book. Great read. Thank you very much.
I appreciate it.
Your chance to win at Comment Room.